actually take one of those suggestions that YouTube is giving you, and you're wanting to make sure that you have that as all of, or just getting started and you don't really know how to tap into the discovery features of YouTube. So in this video, I'm actually going to show you what you can do to get your videos to show up when people are actually looking for things on YouTube. We're going to go over title, we're going to go over descriptions, we're going to go over tags, and some other things that are extremely important to make sure that you're doing right so that YouTube will want to show your videos to other people on the platform. First, let's talk about titles. So when it comes to titling your videos, a lot of people will actually title their videos as the very last step in the process of putting a video up on YouTube. However, that's actually the backwards way to do it. Instead, you actually want to come up with your video idea first, and then from your video idea, you want to start thinking of titles and thinking of how you're going to title your videos and how you're going to structure all of the information that you put into YouTube so that YouTube will help put your videos in front of other people. Here's what I mean. Let's say that you have a particular topic in your brain that you want to make a video about. What you would do is you would go into YouTube and you'd start typing in exactly what it is that you are thinking, or the topic that you are thinking about making a video about. From there, what you're going to see is as you start typing that information in, YouTube is actually going to show you a list of different ways that people are actually looking specifically for that topic that you are wanting to make a video about. So using that information, what you want to do is you want to see exactly how people are looking for the particular topic that you're wanting to make a video about, and then from there you're wanting to actually take one of those suggestions that YouTube is giving you, and you're wanting to make sure that you have that as all of or part of the title of your video. Now, just by doing this by itself, you are drastically increasing your chances of people being able to find your video when people are actually searching for something on YouTube. But we're going to go deeper. Another thing that you want to make sure that you do when you are typing in the topic that you're going to talk about to see what YouTube is going to present to you is you actually want to hit search, and you want to see the list of videos that actually come up for that specific term that you are considering making a video about. Here's where it gets fun. What you want to do is you want to look and see the results that are shown when you search for that specific topic, because those are your competition. Those are the people that you're going to be going up against when you are trying to actually show up for that specific term. There are tools like TubeBuddy that can help you identify your chances of ranking for specific phrases or specific terms, but what you want to do, if you want to do it manually, is you want to look and see exactly who is ranking in those particular spots. So what you want to do when those results are presented to you and you are doing this manually, you want to say, okay, are there any other channels that are about the same size as mine that are ranking for any of these results? If the answer is yes, then that's the go-ahead to move on to the next step. If the answer is no, then basically you just keep repeating that process over and over again until you find one of the ways that people are searching for the topic that you want to make that you do have a chance to rank your video for. And real quick, before we move on to the next step, I want to let you know that search inside of YouTube and using search discovery inside of YouTube, or tapping into, I should say, search discovery on YouTube, is really important, because when you do that, what you're doing is you're basically creating assets for all these specific terms that are going to continually drive traffic to your channel over a long period of time. In addition to that, by using the techniques that we're talking about right to show up in search engines like Google and Yahoo and MSN, for example, when people are searching for that topic in those as well. So search is very powerful, and it can bring you a ton of traffic, but it's also important to understand that the recommendation features on YouTube actually have the largest amount of traffic. So some of the stuff that we're going to talk about later in the video is actually going to help make sure that YouTube internally is also promoting your content as well. So with that said, we're going to move on to step number 2, which is your description. So basically, how the structure works is you have your title, and then to help prop up your title or to give more context to your title, you want to use your description. I recommend that you do not pollute your descriptions with anything at the very top of your description except for an actual description of your video. In fact, YouTube actually recommends that the first paragraph or 2 of your video description does exactly that. It describes what's happening in your video. And what you want to do is you want to take the title that you made for your video, the actual phrase that you're trying to get your video to show up for, and you want to take that and you actually want to put it in the description as well, so it's a part of your video description. Now here's the tip. YouTube recommends that you take the most important part of what it is that you're trying to get your video to show up for, and you put that at the very front of your titles, and that you put that at the very top of your video description, because it's what people see first. So when you search for something on YouTube, what you're going to see is you're going to see the title. So you want to make sure that it doesn't get cut off anywhere, that it can go up for, and you want to take that and you actually want to put it in the description as well, so it's a part of your video description. Now here's a tip. YouTube recommends that you take the most important part of what it is that you're trying to get your video to show up for, and you put that at the very front of your titles, and that you put that at the very top of your video description, because it's what people see first. So when you search for something on YouTube, what you're going to see is you're going to see the title. So you want to make sure that it doesn't get cut off anywhere, that people can see exactly what it is that they are looking for when a search result comes up. In addition to that, they also show a snippet of the video description as well. So you want to make sure that the very top part of your description also fits into that teaser spot in the search results, so that when people see the title, if they want a little bit more context, they're also going to see that very top part of the description as well. So to recap that, you want to make sure that you have the actual phrase in your description that you're trying to rank for, that you pulled from your title, and then you also want to make sure that you're being a little bit persuasive, so that when people do see that show up in search results, they're more inclined to click on it and come into your video. The third step in this process is tags. Now when it comes to tags, you want to make sure that you're optimizing everything for the relevance of what it is that you're trying to rank the video for, or in other words, the actual title itself. So because of that, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you put the actual phrase that you're trying to rank for as your very first tag, because YouTube specifically says that you need to put the tags in there in the order of importance. Once you have that first tag in there, that's your title, and not your entire title unless it's only that phrase, but if you have the phrase or the keyword and you have additional things on it, then you don't necessarily want to put that in there. You just want to put the actual phrase that you're trying to get your video to show up. And then from there, all of the other tags that you put into the tag box should be things that are directly related to the title itself. So let me give you an example. So let's say that your video is about the best camera lenses or how to beat this particular game. So on the camera lens side, let's say that what you're trying to rank for is best camera lenses, for example. Then what you'd want to do is you would want to say best camera lenses 2019, best camera lens reviews, camera lenses, best camera lenses for beginners, lenses for beginners, and so on, until you fill out that tag box with all relevant tags that support what it is that you're trying to rank for in the actual title itself. And relevance is key here, because YouTube's default sorting when people are looking for stuff in search is to sort by relevance. So relevance is extremely important in this situation. So let's say that you are making gaming content and you are trying to rank for a specific gaming phrase. And what you would do is you would take that phrase, you would put it in your title, you would put it in your description or as part of your description, and you would also put it in your tags as well, and then you would build all of your tags around that for relevance. So every tag that you would use would be relevant relevant to that title that you are trying to rank the video for. Now, if you use something like TubeBuddy that I mentioned before, then TubeBuddy will auto-suggest tags for you, and then you can pick and choose which ones are relevant to your video. But if you are not using any types of tools for your stuff, you're just doing everything manually, then what you want to do is you want to go back to YouTube search, and you want to start typing in there different ways that people might be looking for that particular game that you are trying to rank your video for, or the specific phrase that you're trying to rank the video for. Now, keep in mind, relevancy is extremely important, so you want to make sure any tags that you are using when you are pulling them from the autocomplete or from TubeBuddy or wherever, that they are relevant to the actual phrase that you're trying to rank the video for. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I'm really trying to stress relevancy here. Now, one question that I get a lot is people will say, hey Nick, I'm using the title in my description and I'm using relevant tags, but what they don't think about is other rank extremely important when it comes to YouTube. So when it comes to ranking your videos in search, what happens is, even if you have the right title, description, and tags, if people are not clicking on your thumbnails and your titles, then what's going to happen is YouTube is going to say, well, people are not responding to this, so therefore, we're not going to keep this video in search rankings, because when we have it there, nobody's clicking on it. And this is why thumbnails and titles are so important, because even though you might have everything perfect on the actual information that you're showing YouTube for your title, description, and tags, if your titles and thumbnails are not getting clicked, then it's not going to do you much good because people are not responding to your content. So what you have to make sure that you do is you have to make sure that you're also making effective thumbnails, because that is a part of ranking in search. Again, this is something that TubeBuddy can help you with their thumbnail testing feature, but what you want to do at the very least is, if your videos are not showing up for those particular things, you want to go in and you want to look at the click-through rate on your thumbnails, and you want to just get an idea on how that compares to the rest of the thumbnails on your channel with about an equal view. If the number is extremely low, and here in a second I'm going to tell you what the averages are, but if that number is extremely low, that tells you, okay, well, I need to get to work on making a better thumbnail that people respond to in a better way, so that I improve my chances of showing up when people are looking for this specific topic. To give you a benchmark, the average on YouTube across the platform is between 2 and 10% on the click-through rate on your thumbnail. So what you want to do is, if you're at the low end of that, you want to say, okay, how can I make it better? If you're on the high end of that, you still want to say, how can I make it better? But you can say, okay, well, at least my thumbnail's doing okay, so maybe it's one of the other things that he's going to talk about right here in a second. Now, before we move on to the next ones, it's also important for me to let you know that if your video is getting a ton of views, then in that particular case, having a low click-through rate is actually relatively normal, because YouTube is trying to show it to people that aren't as qualified to see it. Whereas if you don't have a lot of views on your thumbnail, then in that particular case, then YouTube is showing it to a lot more qualified people, which means you seriously have some work to do with your numbers. Now, the two other things that we're going to talk about that are also important ranking factors are the retention on your videos and the engagement that you're getting on your videos. So when it comes to your retention, YouTube shows us in our analytics how people are actually responding to our video content through our audience retention report. So what you want to make sure is that you're getting as much watch time as possible from each video that you upload. And here's why that's important. YouTube is judging our content based on how much watch time we can generate per impression. So what that means is, every time YouTube shows your thumbnail and title to somebody, how much time do they actually spend watching your video? If it's a lot and you're doing these other things that I'm talking about, then your video is going to do well. If it's not a lot, then there's a really good chance that those particular videos are not going to do that great. Now, with that said, there are other factors in this as well, like engagement, that we're going to talk about here in a second, to where if your video retention is kind of average, but you have tons of engagement on your video, everything is optimized perfectly, and you have a high click-through rate, then you can still rank in search. You can still get suggested all over YouTube, but you would get suggested more if your retention that you're getting on your videos, or the watch time that you're getting on your videos, is higher, for example. Now, when it comes to engagement, YouTube also says that they also rank videos based on the amount of engagement that they generate as well. So if you have content and you're not getting any comments, then it's going to be more difficult for you to rank in search than it will be if people are interested in what you're doing and they're leaving a lot of comments on your video. And that's why it's common for bigger channels to rank faster and to rank in more competitive spots easier, because one, they've just had experience on actually learning how to keep people watching, learning how to get people to click on their thumbnails and so on. But it's also because within minutes of publishing, they can generate tons of engagement on their videos, which helps them instantly go into those ideal spots until YouTube tries to figure out if their video is a good performer. But here's the thing that I want you to always keep in mind. If your content and your thumbnails are not on point, then everything else that you can do isn't going to help. But if your content and your thumbnails are proven to be on point through the data that you get in your analytics, then that actually gives you a little flexibility on the other things, because if people are responding to it, YouTube is more likely to promote it. And that applies to search, and it also applies to having your videos suggested next to other videos on YouTube, and that also applies to having your videos show up on people's home pages as well, which is gold. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are writing your titles correctly and that you're going after good topics that you have a chance to show up for. You want to make sure that your description is on point, your tags, but you also want to make sure that your thumbnail and your content are on point, as well as your title, because if they're not, then it doesn't matter how good the other stuff is, YouTube isn't going to help you out much. But if it is on point and you also have your title, your description, and your tags put together, then you're just going to make like a little power formula to constantly be sending traffic into your channel, which is what you want. Now, if you're new to YouTube and you want to give yourself an edge, make sure that you watch this video right here of tools that I recommend for YouTubers, because there's a lot of really good stuff in there that'll help you out. And to learn more about growing your channel, making videos, and all types of other YouTube-related stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. I know we all want our YouTube channels to grow, and modeling success is typically smart. However, it is not always the best idea. So I'm going to tell you how doing things like big YouTubers can actually keep you small. And we're starting right now. What is going on? My name is Nick. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to grow your channel, make videos, and all types of other YouTube-related stuff, start now by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Okay, real quick, I want to let you know that my podcast is out now. It's called Comments Over Coffee, and it's available on all of the major podcasting platforms. I'll put information about that in the description below. But anyway, you may or may not know that when I see a good comment on one of my videos, I will often open that up in a tab, and I'll check out the channel, just take a glance, kind of see what's going on. That helps me stay in line with what's happening in the community, and it also lets me know the things that I need to talk about, like this. I've noticed a pattern. A lot of content creators are basically selling themselves short, or they're taking away the opportunity that they have to actually get growth and exposure here on YouTube by mimicking what they see a lot of big YouTubers do. Let me explain. When you see bigger YouTube channels like Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon, for example, or any other big channels on YouTube, it's important to keep in mind that regardless of what it is that they put out, because they already have a huge audience in place, that as soon as they hit the publish button, people are going to start pouring into their video. And I'm talking like tens of thousands of views in just the first hour. They could literally make a title with just explanation points in it, and people would click on it like crazy because they know that that particular big YouTuber that they're a fan of is putting it out. If you or me did that, there's a really good chance that that video is not going to perform well, because we just can't send that amount of traffic to a video as soon as you publish. And look, I'm not saying that their titles are garbage or that their thumbnails are garbage, because they are obviously not. High-level creators know how to get that result for people. They know exactly what it is that they're going with. But because as soon as they hit that publish button and they have a lot of people pouring into that video, they're sending tons of data into YouTube in terms of how that video performs, or in terms of how people respond to that video, so that YouTube knows, hey, people like this are responding to this particular video, therefore we're going to start trying to show this video to other people that are like this. And let's take one of those same videos and we put it on the home page, right? As soon as you log into YouTube, well, the same exact thing happens there. When one of these creators, like Casey Neistat, for example, when he uploads a video, I don't even say for anything, but as long as his face is in the thumbnail, guess what? The people that like Casey Neistat are going to go in and they're going to watch that video regardless of what the title says. And this right here is where things can really start hurting you if you don't already have that built-in audience. Let's say that you're a channel that has 500 subscribers on it, or let's say that you're getting like 500 views per video, and you're just kind of getting that ball rolling, you're getting 500 views per video. Well, there's not a lot of people that know your face yet. So if you were to do that same exact thing, then what's going to happen is it's going to hit the homepage a few times, and depending on exactly what's happening in the thumbnail, exactly what the title is, there's a really good chance that that video is just not going to get the clicks that you want it to get, because you just haven't built up that audience. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that of high-performing video that you put out isn't going to perform. What I'm saying is that when you are doing things like titling your videos like one of these larger creators, you just don't get that initial juice or that initial recognition that they can get, which basically tells YouTube that it's a decent video. Let me give you another example. I know that from some of the channels that I've just opened up and looked at, I know that in our live streams when we look at channels, one of the things that we see a lot is we see bloggers that will make videos that'll say something like, Bobby's first day of school. If you are making videos just for the sake of keeping that record of what's happening in your life, then what I'm about to say doesn't matter. But if you're making your videos and your intent with those videos is to keep track of your life, but also to actually grow the channel, then it's important that you pay attention to what it is I'm about to say. Most of the people on YouTube do not know who Bobby is, and since they don't know who Bobby is, they do not care about Bobby's first day of school. So what you need to do when you're making titles like that is you need to look at the title and step back a little bit and say, hey, if I'm talking about Bobby's first day of school, how can I frame this in a way that makes it a little bit more intriguing for people to click on? And what kind of imagery can we use in the thumbnail instead of just Bobby with the backpack on? What kind of imagery can we use in the thumbnail to actually kind of illustrate a little bit what major thing happened when Bobby went to his first day of school that other people would be interested in watching? Another thing that big YouTube channels do that a lot of small channels also do, but they shouldn't, is announcement videos. Let me explain. People are coming to your channel for your content. They're not coming to your channel to learn about why you haven't been uploading. They're not coming to your channel to learn about some milestone that you just crossed. They're not coming to your channel for anything except for content when you're first getting started. It is extremely important that every single video that you put out is content for your viewers. You know who you're making content for. You start putting that content out for them, and you don't interrupt that content.
Looking for a fun, easier way to reach your audience in between uploads? In this video, we'll give you an overview of YouTube Stories, short, mobile-only videos that allow eligible creators with 10,000 subscribers or more to connect with their community or cash in the moment and on the go. YouTube Stories don't just help creators connect with their existing subscribers, but also help find new ones. On average, creators that have an active story can accelerate their weekly new subscriber count by 8.5%. So first, we'll show you how to make a story. Then, we'll give you some things to keep in mind about stories. And finally, we'll give you some strategies for using them. To create a story, sign into YouTube on mobile. Tap the camera, then Story. Tap the capture button to take a photo, hold it down to record a video. You can also select a video or image from your mobile device to add to your story. From there, you can add effects like music, filters, text, and stickers. You can add your location or even mention other creators. You can choose a video that your viewers can add to their Watch Later playlist. You can also highlight a viewer's comment, trim your story, or save it to your camera. Once your story is ready, hit post. Once you have access to stories, you'll also see a story show up on your home page. You can click the Create button, which will always show as the first avatar on this shelf, for a quick and easy way to create a story. Now, here are some things to keep in mind with stories. Stories are on mobile only and appear on the Stories tab of your channel page. They can also show to subscribers on the subscription screen and on home and under videos to new viewers that might be interested in your content. You can check out your own story by tapping your channel icon in the Stories row on mobile home or on the subscription screen. You'll see the number of views, comments, and likes on each of your own story posts at the bottom of your plate. You can see the total number of views across all posts in a story via the Stories tab on your channel. Stories expire after 7 days, which give your audience time to view your story and time to respond to comments. Stories have no effect on the discovery potential of your main videos, so feel free to test it out. Okay, in this last section, here are some stories to think about. Let your fans know you're going to start making stories. Give your audience a heads up about the new content you're posting. Some viewers might not be familiar with the feature, so include a shout out in your regular videos or in a community post letting them know about your plans to use stories. Be consistent with your stories. Viewers tend to love it when you have a sense of what you'll post and when you'll post it. See if you can come up with some repeatable story ideas that give your fans something fun and easy to watch, like outfit of the day or fun fact about me series. Since stories last for 7 days, try posting at least once a week to keep your channel presence active in between uploads. Try something new. Viewers love seeing stories that do more than just notify them about your latest upload or the complete uploads. About me series. Since stories last for 7 days, try posting at least once a week to keep your channel presence active in between uploads. Try something new. Viewers love seeing stories that do more than just notify them about your latest upload. The most successful stories show viewers something new that they can't find in your videos. What might that be for you? Bring viewers behind the scenes. Stories are a great way to give viewers a backstage pass to your life. Bring your audience behind